Before this review can take off, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Michael O'Callahan at Horror Splice on Instagram. I asked if I would give him a shout out to him on here and a link to his Instagram page, and so here it is. Please go follow him and please enjoy his pictures and as well as my review on It Follows.
31 Days of Fright Horror Movie Project Year 4.
Welcome to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James, and this is an audio-only review for the 31 Days of Fright Horror Movie Project Year 4. And the movie I will be discussing is It Follows. Now, I originally intended this review to be my usual video format, but I wanted to convey my thoughts and opinions on this movie precise, clear, and to the point because I have a lot to say. So before I really dive into this review, I'm going to tell you what you need to know, and first up is the plot. The plot of this movie follows a girl named Jay after she has sex, which was casual, but what followed this normal sexual encounter is where this movie starts to take form. After being chloroformed and tied to a wheelchair, the guy who Jay has sex with explains to her that he has passed it on to her, all the while he is pacing around in what seems to be in an abandoned parking garage, waiting for something. And while doing so, he explains that it will take many forms of strangers and even people she knows, and she has to stay alive and pass it on through sex. And if she was to die, the next person in line would be the guy again who she initially had sex with. And from there, Jay and her friends try to understand what is going on and figuring stuff out while trying to stay alive. Now on to the review. I was expecting this movie to be along the lines of Paranormal Activity or Insidious, but I was oh so very wrong. I love this movie for three specific reasons. 1. I love how little information is given about it. All the movie really says is passed on through sex, and if you get caught, you're dead. And with no background information on what it is, leaves for things for interpretation depending on the viewer. 2. The music. The music in this movie is very important. It definitely sets the tone of the film. It reminds me of Trent Reznor's scores from The Social Network and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think this movie wouldn't have been as powerful as it is if it wasn't for the music giving life to the scenes. And 3. The cinematography. The way the movie looks and how the camera moves. One scene in particular is how this movie starts out in one continuous shot of this girl running from her house screaming, running away from something the viewer can't see. And the look of this movie feels like another movie I've talked about this year, Under the Skin. This movie is slow paced, but when things start to happen, it has your attention. Now, all those praises, there's a few things I found to be bothersome. Not enough basic information. Like I said, I love how little info is on it, but the movie really doesn't say where all this is happening until late in the movie when one of the characters mentions 8 Mile. I didn't gather one of the friends was actually a sister of the main character. I must have missed a line of dialogue. Another thing is, I usually don't complain about this, but some parental presence would have been nice, especially when one of the characters suffers a gunshot wound and various other injuries, and to question why everyone is constantly staying over in one room. The ending is left to be more to be desired, but it was okay, depending on your interpretation. But those problems didn't occur until after I decided to wait a day after watching the movie and letting it process. This movie has a high scare factor due to how slow-paced and the music creating suspense. The gore is limited, but when used, it's graphic depending on the situation. And now for my rating. 1. Run-of-the-mill horror. 2. Best watch with a group. 3. More than average horror, but adds nothing new to the horror genre. 4. Helps move the horror genre forward. And 5. Being a horror classic. It Follows is a 3.5. This movie does extremely well in creating a new entity with little information with great effect. My fellow friend who couldn't wait for me to review this was right about one thing. It definitely had some potential, could have ramped up a few scenes, but I stand by my rating. And with everything said, I recommend this. It is a very solid rental, and I actually think it's best watched solo. As always, my name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.